What if I told you that your fear of death is holding you back more than you ever imagined? Imagine being trapped in a dark room, shadows creeping in, and the reality of mortality breathing down your neck. Scary, right? But what if there was a way to break free from that fear and live fully, embracing life for what it truly is? Briefly introduce the concept of mortality and why the fear of death is one of the most common yet paralyzing fears known to humanity. Why we fear death. Humans are naturally wired to fear what they cannot control or understand. Death, the great unknown, is a concept that has haunted humanity since the dawn of time. Discuss the influence of culture, religion, and personal experiences that shape our perceptions of death. An anecdote: share a relatable story about a person who was paralyzed by the fear of death, unable to take risks or enjoy life because of their constant worry. Facing the reality of death. Talk about how confronting the reality of death head-on is the first step in overcoming the fear. It's like looking directly into the eyes of the thing that scares you the most. Introduce the concept of memento mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember that you must die, to help people come to terms with their mortality. Storytime: narrate a story about a person who experienced a near-death situation and how it transformed their view of life and death. The twist: this person went from being terrified of death to accepting it as a part of life's natural rhythm. By understanding death from a scientific perspective. Dive into the science of death, what happens to the body and brain during the process of dying. The physiological changes that occur in the brain in the final moments, what we know, and the mysteries that remain unsolved. Explain how understanding the process of death scientifically can demystify some of the fear associated with it, making it a little less terrifying and more understandable. Spiritual perspectives on death. Discuss different spiritual and religious perspectives on death, including ideas about the afterlife, reincarnation, and the concept of the soul. How these beliefs can bring comfort to those who fear the finality of death. Share a short story about someone finding peace in their faith when faced with the inevitability of death, giving them the strength to face it without fear. Death and the meaning of life. How contemplating death can actually enhance the way we live. Knowing that life is finite makes every moment more precious. Share an emotional story about a person who was diagnosed with a terminal illness and how it changed their perspective on life. They started to cherish every sunrise, every hug, and every breath. Explain how the realization that life is short can inspire us to live more fully and passionately, letting go of trivial worries and focusing on what truly matters. Embracing death as part of life's journey. Explore the idea of death not as an end, but as a transition to another phase, whatever that may be. Reflect on how nature itself shows us the cycle of life and death, with seasons changing, leaves falling, and life constantly renewing itself. A powerful metaphor compared death to a sunset, not an end, but the promise of a new dawn, a new beginning in some form. Practical techniques to overcome the fear of death. Mindfulness and meditation, how being present in the moment can help reduce anxiety about the future, including the fear of death. Acceptance, practical steps to accept death as a natural part of life rather than something to be feared. Living fully, encourage the audience to focus on living rather than dying. The more we embrace life, the less we fear death. The scary truth about regret. introduced the concept of regret as an even scarier monster than death itself. Regret is the haunting ghost of all the things we didn't do because we were too afraid. Imagine being on your deathbed and realizing that you never truly lived because you were always afraid of dying. That's a fear worth conquering. Don't wait until it's too late to start living. Don't let the fear of death rob you of the life you deserve. If this message hit home for you, then take the leap, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's conquer this fear together and make every moment count. Wrap up with a motivational message on embracing the beauty of life's impermanence. The idea that death is not something to be feared, but a reminder to live with passion, purpose, and joy. Encourage the viewers to reflect on their lives, not with the fear of the end, but with the excitement of the journey.